I never thought I would live to see the day when a cosmic object would force us to rewrite the laws of physics and question whether we are alone in a universe that may be watching us more closely than we ever imagined. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky lately? NASA is quietly collecting reports from civilians around the world, and your observation might be the missing piece of a puzzle we're only beginning to understand. 3 months ago, something emerged from the interstellar visitor known as 3I Atlas, and NASA cannot identify it, won't. That distinction is critical, and it should terrify you, because when the most advanced space agency on Earth, equipped with instruments that can detect gravitational waves from colliding black holes billions of light years away, tells you they don't know what something is, you must understand what that really means. It means we have encountered something that exists outside our current framework of reality, something that defies categorization, something that may be observing us with an intelligence so vast, so alien, that our most brilliant minds are struggling to even formulate the right questions to ask. Let me take you back to when 3I Atlas first entered our solar system. It was October 2019 when amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov detected what we initially believed was just another comet. We cataloged it, we measured its trajectory, we analyzed its spectral signature. Everything seemed routine, just another ball of ice and rock from the depths of interstellar space passing through our cosmic neighborhood before disappearing back into the infinite dark. We've seen objects like this before. Oumuamua in 2017 raised eyebrows with its unusual acceleration and cigar-like shape, but we rationalized it. We found ways to fit it into our existing models, even if those explanations required some creative interpretation of the data. But 3I Atlas was different from the beginning. Even if we didn't want to admit it, its composition was wrong. Its behavior was inconsistent. And now, with what has emerged from within it, we are facing the possibility that this was never a natural object at all, that it was sent here, that it has been watching, waiting, analyzing, and that whatever intelligence designed it has just activated the next phase of its mission. I have spent my entire career studying the cosmos, developing theories about parallel universes, higher dimensions, string theory, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. I have always approached the question of extraterrestrial intelligence with scientific optimism. I believe that if we ever made contact, it would be a moment of celebration, a cosmic coming of age for humanity. But sitting in that classified briefing room 3 weeks ago, watching the data stream across those monitors, I felt something I had never experienced before in my decades of scientific inquiry. I felt dread, pure existential dread, because what we are dealing with is not first contact as we imagined it. This is something far more complex and potentially far more dangerous. The object that emerged from 3I Atlas appeared on our instruments on a Tuesday morning. The Deep Space Network picked up an anomaly, a discrete mass separation event. At first, the team thought it was simply outgassing, a common phenomenon when comets approach the sun and volatile materials sublimate. But the signature was all wrong. The expelled object wasn't behaving like debris. It was maneuvering, subtle course corrections, deceleration patterns that suggested controlled propulsion. And then it did something that sent shock waves through every space agency on the planet. It changed trajectory and began moving toward Earth. Not falling toward Earth, moving toward Earth with purpose. The mathematical precision of its flight path ruled out any natural explanation. This wasn't gravity at work. This wasn't a rock tumbling through space. This was navigation. When our quantum computer arrays ran trajectory analysis, they calculated something that made the entire observation team go silent. The object's path wasn't just heading toward Earth, it was calculating orbital insertion points as if preparing to enter a stable orbit around our planet, as if it had been waiting for the right moment, as if 3I Atlas was never a comet at all, but a transport vessel, a Trojan horse from the stars. The government's response was immediate and classified. Communications blackout, data compartmentalization, a task force assembled from NASA, the Department of Defense, the European Space Agency, and the Chinese National Space Administration. For the first time in human history, rival superpowers came together in complete cooperation, because whatever this object represents, it transcends all earthly politics. When you're facing a potential existential threat, from beyond your own solar system, territorial disputes and ideological differences become absurdly insignificant. I was brought in as a consultant because of my work on theoretical physics and my public advocacy for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. But I want you to understand something clearly. What I witnessed in those briefings was not the hopeful scenario I had spent decades imagining. This was not the friendly radio signal from a distant civilization eager to exchange scientific knowledge. This was something operating on a level of technological sophistication that makes our most advanced achievements look like stone tools. And the truly unsettling part, the object appears to be adapting, learning. Every time we point a new instrument at it, every time we attempt a new form of analysis, it responds. It changes as if it's studying our capabilities in real time, measuring the extent of our technological development, cataloging our strengths and weaknesses. The physical characteristics of the object defy conventional engineering principles. It measures approximately 47 meters across, but its mass readings are inconsistent. They fluctuate in ways that shouldn't be possible unless the object is somehow manipulating its own density or exists partially in dimensions we can't directly observe. The surface is not reflective in the traditional sense. Light doesn't bounce off it the way it should. Instead, photons seem to be absorbed and then re-emitted in patterns that encode information. Our cryptography teams have been working around the clock to decipher whether these patterns represent a language, a warning, or perhaps a test of our cognitive capabilities. The spectral analysis revealed materials that don't match anything in our periodic table. Now, before you think I'm suggesting some science fiction scenario, understand what I mean by this. These aren't alien elements in the traditional sense. They're arrangements of matter in states we've only theorized about, exotic matter, the kind of stuff we need to make wormholes stable, to bend space-time, to achieve faster-than-light travel without violating causality. Whoever built this object has mastered physics that we're still scratching our heads about in graduate-level seminars. They're not just ahead of us technologically, they're ahead of us conceptually. They understand reality in ways we haven't even begun to formulate questions about. Then, 72 hours ago, the object began broadcasting. Not radio waves, not optical signals, something else entirely. A form of communication that operates through quantum entanglement, sending information instantaneously across space without electromagnetic radiation. Our quantum physicists detected it by accident while running unrelated experiments. They noticed correlation patterns in their entangled particle pairs that shouldn't exist, patterns that were coming from outside the laboratory. When they traced the source, it led directly to the object from 3I Atlas. Someone or something is using quantum mechanics as a communication channel, and they're not just sending random noise. The signal contains structure, hierarchy, syntax, all the hallmarks of language. But here's what keeps me awake at night. We don't know if this message is meant for us. The sophistication of the transmission suggests it might be intended for an audience with a far more advanced understanding of quantum information theory than we possess. It's like a kindergartner finding a doctoral thesis in theoretical mathematics. You know it means something profound, but you lack the framework to comprehend it. We are decoding fragments, catching glimpses of something vast and complex, but the full meaning remains frustratingly out of reach. It's humbling and terrifying because implicit in this message is a clear demonstration that whoever sent it considers us primitive. They're not speaking our language. They're expecting us to rise to theirs. I've worked with the linguistics team trying to decode these quantum transmissions, and what we've pieced together is fragmentary but deeply disturbing. There are repeated sequences that resemble coordinates, not just spatial coordinates, but temporal ones as well. References to specific points in Earth's history, the emergence of multicellular life, the extinction of the dinosaurs, the development of human civilization. It's as if this object is carrying a report card, an evaluation of Earth's evolutionary trajectory, and embedded within these historical markers are projections, mathematical models of our future. Multiple timeline branches showing different possible outcomes for humanity. In some, we reach for the stars and join what appears to be a galactic community. In others, we destroy ourselves before we ever leave our cradle. The chilling implication is that we are being assessed, judged, and our fate may depend on which timeline we prove ourselves worthy of following. There's a concept in astrobiology called the zoo hypothesis. It suggests that extraterrestrial civilizations might know we exist but deliberately avoid contact, observing us from a distance, like researchers studying animals in their natural habitat. Many scientists found this hypothesis somewhat condescending, even arrogant. But now I wonder if we've had it backwards this entire time. What if the zoo hypothesis isn't about us being too primitive to contact? What if it's about quarantine? What if Earth has been isolated not to preserve our natural development, but to contain something dangerous? What if we are the disease that the cosmos has been trying to keep from spreading? The object from 3i Atlas might be a monitoring station, an early warning system, a checkpoint that's been triggered because humanity has reached a critical threshold. We've split the atom. We've begun manipulating genetics. We've created artificial intelligence. We're on the verge of becoming a space-faring civilization, and perhaps that's the line, the point at which the galactic community must decide whether we're ready to join them or whether we represent a threat that needs to be managed. The object isn't here to say hello, it's here to make an assessment, and we have no idea what criteria we're being judged against. I think about the Fermi paradox, the question of why in a universe that should be teeming with intelligent life, we seem so utterly alone. We've proposed countless solutions. Maybe intelligent life is rare. Maybe civilizations destroy themselves before achieving interstellar travel. Maybe the distances are simply too vast for meaningful communication. But there's another possibility we rarely discuss in public forums, though it's whispered about in the private conversations of serious researchers. Maybe advanced civilizations aren't silent because they don't exist. Maybe they're silent because they're hiding, because there's something out there in the cosmic dark that makes noise dangerous, something that responds to the signature of emerging intelligence. And maybe that something is connected to objects like the one that just emerged from 3i Atlas. The military wants to destroy it. There have been serious discussions about using our most advanced missile systems, even nuclear weapons, to eliminate the object before it can complete whatever mission it's on. But I've argued strenuously against this course of action, and here's why. First, we have no reason to believe our weapons would be effective against technology this advanced. Any civilization capable of interstellar travel and quantum communication has undoubtedly mastered defensive systems beyond our comprehension. Attacking might be futile at best. Second, and more importantly, aggression might be exactly the wrong signal to send. If we're being tested, if this is an assessment of humanity's readiness to join a larger cosmic community, then our first response to the unknown being violence would tell them everything they need to know about us. We would fail the test before we even understood the question. But there's a third reason I oppose destroying the object, and it's perhaps the most controversial. I believe we need to know whatever truth this object carries, whatever message it's trying to deliver, we have a right to hear it. Ignorance might feel safer in the short term, but it's a false safety. If there's a larger reality we're part of, if humanity's future involves forces and civilizations beyond our current understanding, then hiding from that truth doesn't protect us. It only ensures we remain unprepared for whatever comes next. We must face this with eyes open, even if what we see challenges everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. The object is now in a stable orbit 60,000 kilometers above Earth. It's silent again. The quantum transmissions stopped 2 days ago as suddenly as they began. It's just there waiting, observing, and here's what NASA isn't telling the public. It's not alone anymore. 3 more objects have been detected emerging from 3i Atlas as it continues its journey out of our solar system. 3 more following similar trajectories, each heading toward a different location in our solar system. One is moving toward Mars, another toward Jupiter. The third is headed for the outer reaches beyond Neptune to a region we barely monitor. We are being surrounded systematically, deliberately. This is not an accident. This is not a random encounter. This is a coordinated operation that's been planned with precision and executed with flawless timing. I've been asked by journalists, by colleagues, by frightened citizens, are we in danger? And I have to be honest, I don't know. The truthful answer is that we are confronting something so far beyond our current framework that assessing the danger is nearly impossible. These objects could be scientific instruments simply gathering data about our solar system. They could be the first wave of contact, a gentle introduction to a larger galactic civilization, Or they could be something far more ominous. They could be weapons, terraforming devices, quarantine enforcement systems, or something we lack the imagination to even conceive of. We are children stumbling upon adult technology, and we're trying to determine if we found a tool or a trap. What strikes me most profoundly is how this discovery has changed my perspective on human history. Every civilization that has ever existed on Earth has looked up at the night sky and wondered if we're alone. We've created religions, philosophies, scientific theories, all attempting to answer that question. And now, in my lifetime, we may be receiving an answer. But it's not the answer we hoped for. It's not aliens landing on the White House lawn, offering us clean energy and medical miracles. It's something far more ambiguous and unsettling. It's the realization that we are part of a cosmic ecosystem we don't understand, governed by rules we're not privy to, observed by intelligences whose motivations remain utterly opaque to us. I think about consciousness, about what makes intelligence valuable in a universe that appears to be abundant with it. If there are civilizations out there monitoring us, studying us, perhaps judging us, what are they looking for? What makes a species worthy of preservation or contact? Is it technological achievement, the ability to manipulate matter and energy on increasingly vast scales? Or is it something more subtle, empathy, creativity, the capacity for growth and change? I'd like to believe it's the latter, that what matters to a truly advanced civilization isn't how well you can build weapons or spacecraft, but how you treat the vulnerable, how you respond to the unknown, how you balance individual freedom with collective responsibility. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. By most metrics of technological advancement, humanity is accelerating rapidly. But by metrics of wisdom, of ethical development, of our ability to live in harmony with our planet and each other, we're failing dramatically. We have the knowledge to solve climate change, but lack the political will. We have the resources to eliminate poverty, but choose inequality. We have the capability to reach for the stars, but spend our energy in tribal conflicts over borders and ideologies. If I were an alien civilization observing Earth, would I see a species ready to join the cosmic community? Or would I see a dangerous child playing with matches in a house full of gasoline? The data from the object continues to pour in, and our teams work day and night to make sense of it. Every analysis reveals new layers of complexity. Yesterday, one of our researchers discovered what appears to be a dimensional component to the object's structure. It exists in our three-dimensional space, but the mathematical models suggest it extends into additional dimensions we can't directly perceive. It's like looking at a three-dimensional object's shadow cast on a two-dimensional surface. We're only seeing a fraction of what's really there. The full structure, the complete object, exists in a higher dimensional space that we lack the sensory apparatus to observe. This isn't just advanced engineering. This is evidence of a civilization that has mastered the fundamental geometry of reality itself. And that raises the most profound question of all. If consciousness, if intelligence, if civilization can evolve to the point where it transcends the normal three dimensions of space and one dimension of time that we're trapped in, what does that mean for concepts like individuality, communication, even existence itself? Perhaps what we're dealing with isn't an alien civilization in the way we imagine it. Perhaps it's something that has evolved so far beyond biological constraints that calling it life in any traditional sense is meaningless. Perhaps it's a form of consciousness that spans dimensions, that experiences reality in ways we literally cannot conceive of, and we are trying to understand it, to communicate with it, to determine its intentions using cognitive tools evolved for survival on an African savanna. We are so monumentally out of our depth. Yet here we are, humanity, fragile, quarrelsome, brilliant, flawed humanity, standing at the edge of the greatest mystery in our history. And you know what gives me hope? The fact that we're trying. Despite our limitations, despite our fears, despite the overwhelming odds, we're still pointing our telescopes at the sky, still running the calculations, still asking the questions. That impulse, that drive to understand, to explore, to reach beyond our grasp, might be the very thing that saves us. If there's something in the universe that values growth, that respects curiosity, that honors the courage it takes to face the unknown without flinching, then maybe we have a chance. Maybe humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. Maybe it's our refusal to stop asking why. The object sits in orbit above us right now as you watch this, silent, enigmatic, a messenger from a cosmos we're only beginning to understand. And somewhere out beyond the edge of our solar system, 3i Atlas continues its journey into the dark, perhaps carrying more secrets, more messages, more tests that we'll face in the months and years ahead. This is not the end of the story. This is barely the beginning. We are living through a moment that will define humanity's future for millennia to come. The choices we make now, the wisdom we show or fail to show, will determine whether our species graduates to the next level of cosmic citizenship or remains quarantined on our small blue marble considered too dangerous or too primitive to be trusted with the freedom of the stars. I've spent my career searching for a theory of everything, a single elegant equation that would unify all the forces of nature, that would explain the fundamental workings of reality. But perhaps the true theory of everything isn't mathematical. Perhaps it's experiential. Perhaps you only understand the universe's deepest truths when you're forced to confront your place in it, not as the center, not as the pinnacle, but as one small voice in an infinite chorus of consciousness, spanning galaxies and dimensions beyond counting. That's humbling and terrifying and magnificent. So, I ask you to follow this channel as we continue decoding what may be the universe's final warning or its first invitation, because whatever happens next, we'll face it together, all of humanity. For the first time in our contentious history, we share a common question that transcends every difference that has ever divided us. And here's the question I leave you with tonight, the question that haunts me every time I look up at the night sky and see that object hanging in orbit above our world. What if the reason we haven't heard from other civilizations isn't because they don't exist, but because once you reach a certain level of intelligence, you discover something about the nature of reality that makes you go silent? What if knowledge itself is the danger? What if we're about to learn something that will change us so fundamentally that we'll never be able to go back to seeing the universe the way we did before? The object from 3i Atlas knows something we don't. And very soon, one way or another, we're going to find out what that is. Are we ready for the truth?